lovely day, lovely bit of foreshore for some mudlarking. Let's see what we can find. A lovely day for it, and I've come to an area I haven't been to before with company.
Useful, exactly.
So we are in the presence of mudlarking royalty. We have Nick,
Hello.
who has 70,000 subscribers. So have a look at her YouTube channel, it's well worth a view. Tideline Art. Probably by the end of this film she should have 75,000.
Oh, I hope so, Richard. I'm counting on it.
And Fran.
Hello.
And Kev. Busy searching.
Well, I'm here with a few friends today down on Thames foreshore, and amongst them is Richard Hemery, the professor of pottery, the absolute expert who knows everything possible to know about pottery.
I wish.
So, Richard, you're here today, and you've already found something.
Found a bit of transfer printed ware, Victorian.
Okay.
Some animal statue on top of a plinth.
Very nice. And what are you hoping to find today?
Well, as I said earlier, I'm hoping to find anything with a heart on it. Best about heart would be nice, stoneware, to give to my long-suffering wife, who is a mudlark widow at home, while I'm here with my friends.
Okay, well, it is Valentine's Day today, so we're all looking for something with a heart on it, aren't we? So
yes,
very appropriate. Excellent. Well, good luck.
Yes, thank you. Happy hunting.
And you. And I'm also here with Fran, who's over here. Let's go and say hello to Fran. Hi, Fran.
Hello.
This is Fran, and she is an intrepid mudlark, and you've been here, what, a few minutes, and you've already found something, haven't you?
I have. I found a little button. That's really nice.
And Fran, you've got an Instagram account, haven't you?
I have.
What's
yes.
your Instagram account name?
It's at Fran Joy.
At Fran Joy, and Fran's
7.
found some amazing things.
At Fran Joy 7.
Brilliant. Take a look at Fran's Instagram and see what she's found. But let's have a look here. Oh, you've got a teeny weeny little button. I love buttons.
Very nice button.
And a bullet.
And a bullet.
Oh yes. I should know what that is, but I don't. And we've got quite a long time. The tide's on the way out, so who knows what we're going to find. What would you like to find today?
I'd like to find a trader's token.
Excellent. That's a good wish. That's a good wishing thing to find. Okay, well, let's get on with it then.
Righto.
High-rise skyline of London. Modern London here. Lovely day for it. And ancient London down here, we hope.
And here's a nice piece of pottery for one of my pottery fish. This pipe looks rather nice. It looks like a bunch of grapes on both sides.
So our first find is a little pearly button. Mother of pearl button. Quite good. Pearly king, pearly queen, maybe. Spot the pot. It's like a statue on top of a plinth. Is another area of the foreshore where you can see good evidence for Tinglay's earthenware production. So you've got the yellow pottery, which is saggers that the ware was fired in, and then you've also got bits of terracotta, which are the biscuit Delft had its first firing and then been discarded before glazing. But you can see those spots of glaze on some of the saggers there where tin glazed earthenware has been fired in them. Okay, spot the pot, not the chain so much. Here, a lovely example of black basalt, which is a stoneware, and this dates from anywhere from the 1780s through the Victorian period. It looks a bit Roman, but they were trying to imitate classical styles, and that's why it's given that shape. But it's nice and thin and well made, with I guess it's an engine turned decoration on it, so rather pleased with that. One to take home. Can you spot a button? I'm going to pick it up and hope that there's something on the other side. No, sadly not. Just a plain button, but I guess it must have some age to it. A coin. It's only a penny. It is a mouldy penny with the iron core, which means they will be nothing but rubbish in a few years' time. Here's something nice I've just picked up. It is the corner of a tin glazed earthenware tile. You've got the typical motif in the corner, a trace of a design there, and this would be 17th or 18th century. So let's hope we can find a few more pieces like this. A millstone used as an anchoring point. Old and new on the Thames foreshore. A nice example of spongeware, where you've got a sponged pattern repeated below the rim, so that will be Victorian in date. Okay, this illustrates the Delftware production quite well. This is part of a sagger for firing plates, and it's got a triangular hole in it, and a little triangular stilt would go in the hole and separate the plate from its neighbour, and you'd have a whole stack of plates in the kiln. Here we have another bit of tin glazed earthenware biscuit Delft, but it's the base of a charger or large plate, so it's a good size, and that would be rejected before glazing. It would be a shame. It would be a lovely piece when it was glazed, with some lovely design on it. But it's a good find.
Now this here looks like the horn of something, or the antler of something, or it's probably a horn, isn't it? That's definitely a horn. Now what's it from? Is it a goat? Or a cow? Okay, now talking of antlers and horns, or antlers more specifically, I've just seen, I mean my eye just caught it, really fortunately, and I'm hoping that it's a whole bowl, but I've just seen a beautiful, or what looks like a beautiful bowl down here. Now, can you see it? Look at that. Look at that. Now, let's have a look and see. Oh, wouldn't it be great if it was in one piece? And it looks like it's got like a deer's head on it, doesn't it? Just there. Oh, I hope it's in one piece. Let's have a look. Yes, it is, and I don't know whether it's the RAOB, the Royal Antediluvian, the Royal Antediluvian Order of Buffaloes. Maybe not, because that's not a buffalo. Okay, let's have a look. Isn't that beautiful? It's got the head of a deer. You can see the antlers. We can see an A and an O. And what's it going to have on the other side? Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. It looks like a person. Right, let's go and wash it off. This is very, very exciting. Let's go and give it a rinse so we can have a look and see what's on it. I've had some fantastic pipe bowl finds recently. And this is another spot of extremely good fortune. So I'm assuming it might be a hunter on the other side, but I'm still not clear on what the letters are. Okay, let's see. No, it looks like AOI, doesn't it? And on the other side, yeah. A soldier or somebody, I can't quite work out what he's carrying, whether that's bow and arrow or a gun. AOI. Well, that's absolutely gorgeous. Actually, it might be, I don't know, it's got a look of something Scottish about it. All will be revealed.
Spot the pot. This I just pulled out of the mud, and it's tin glazed earthenware, and it's probably the bottom. It's tin glazed earthenware. It's probably the bottom of a drug jar. I'll have to clean it up to see if it's any painting on it. But there's bits of waster inside as well. And I just spotted this lovely little bowl under this brick. They're plain on the inside. Cobalt decoration on the outside. Very nice, happy with that. This is a nice example of industrial slipware, so late 18th or early 19th century, slip coated, and then they've used an engine to cut out these panels with a contrasting colour, so that's rather a nice piece to find. Spot the pot time. I've just spotted down here some tin glaze, and it looks like another tile fragment, which is quite nice. Yeah, there's a bit of a landscape there and possibly a building, so I'm quite pleased with that. I do like these blue and white tin glazed tiles, and this would be like the others, would be late 17th or early 18th century, so that's a nice little find for the bag today. Here's a chunk, very coarse clay with inclusions in it. I don't think it's as old as it looks because it's got like this lattice pattern on the side, so I'm guessing it's just a modern bit of brick, but decorative nonetheless.
Well, I like to
Those are great.
to remain faithful to my favourite objects, so I do have some pipes.
They're
These
really
ones
nice.
are broken. I've got another.
18th century.
Yes, that's right. So some nice 18th century.
That's really good. Any
pipes
maker's marks
here.
on those?
No, there's
They're
no
all
maker's marks,
anonymous.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Got another
yeah.
unbroken one.
Pipes today.
Yes, I have, but I think my favourite find,
Yes.
and I have two of them here. I've got some beautiful pipe bowls. Now this first one here has got some grapes on, a bunch of grapes on each side.
That's really nice. Definitely pipe. That would be Victorian. Probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. But this one I think is my absolute favourite, and it's got the head of a deer.
Yeah.
You see his antlers with A-O. Now it looks like I, but
Yeah,
could
right.
be possibly F, I'm not sure.
Yep.
And then on the other side it looks like a huntsman, and I'm not sure if it's got a bow and arrow.
Oh, yeah.
So
That is a stunning pictorial pipe.
isn't it
Really
beautiful?
nice. Yeah.
I think that's got to be my find of the day.
That
and
is anyone's find for the day.
and if
That's
anybody knows what
fantastic.
AOI means, you're
So we
good
have
at finding
here
things like that, Kevin.
a hammered farthing. So they literally would cut a penny into 4 quarters to make a farthing. So that's a medieval coin. That is really, really exciting. Tide is coming in, so I will be heading off home soon. But I'll be back. Stay tuned for more mudlarking finds. Here we have a tiny piece of Vestabout German stoneware, probably 18th century, could be late 17th, rescued from the incoming tide with just a little stamped motif on it there. Nice bit of German stoneware with cobalt glaze. There seems to be quite a lot in there, which is exciting. So we'll carry on. Broken, sadly. Get it out here. So it's interesting, yeah, that it's got that spout or finial on it. See if I can find a picture of a complete one for the form, see what it was. Well, interesting. Looks old, but isn't. It's a bit of salt glazed drain pipe, and made anyway after 1850. And again, you'll probably recognise by now that this is asbestos. Although it has a curve and a pattern a bit like pottery, it is not to be picked up or taken away.
Well, I'm heading off now, but I'm going to go and see what Richard has found today. Have you had any luck,
Mainly
Richard?
pottery,
Okay.
apart from a couple of new pennies, one of which was rusted. So I've got some tin glazed earthenware tiles,
Okay.
like a landscape with a house and a corner, might be possible to identify. Some slipware where they've carved away to make a contrasting pattern. No. And then some interesting,
Ooh, what have you got in the bag?
yes, lots of tin glazed items. Oh yeah, that one from the Saga shows the triangular hole
Oh yes.
that they'd put the little stilt into, and that
Okay.
would separate a stack of plates while they were firing them. So that's sort of part of the production process. Then this mystery object, which has got like a lattice on it, and a very sort of coarse clay, which I'm hoping might be Roman, but it could just be a 20th century brick.
Okay, how will you
not
find
sure.
out?
Post it on the Facebook page,
Right.
probably. I've got some books which might have a pattern. That might be a maker's mark or
Yeah.
something just to help grip onto that. Another possible Roman rim.
Oh yeah, that does look Roman, doesn't it?
It's got that shape to it, so I'm hoping that might be some tricky Roman. Bit of plastic stuff. Some spongeware where they've decorated around the rim.
Okay.
The item. Oh, and some pretty little tin glazed
Oh yeah, that's nice.
things with some decoration on.
Lovely.
So yes, mainly pottery.
I'm sure that's okay. Excellent. Not bad at all.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we've got a little while left, so maybe you'll find something else.
Yes, I'm going to hang around for a bit longer.
Okay, brilliant.
Thank you.
Well, thanks very much, Richard, and
it's a
well, I'll
pleasure.
see you again soon.
Thank you very much. Yes, see you out there.
Hello, I hope you enjoyed our outing to the Thames with Nick and Fran and Kev. There's a link here to Nick's YouTube channel. I wouldn't be surprised if you're already subscribed to Tideline Art. It's a fantastic channel, and she's an artist and mudlark, and so her videos have an understanding of nature and of environment and of the Thames that is just beautiful, so well worth a look. So there's a link here. And I do encourage you to subscribe to Nick's channel. And she also very kindly at the end of the lark gave me that piece of pottery which she'd found on the area of the foreshore where we were going. So if you found that, would you recognise it? So it's a red firing clay, and it's got a marbled slip, so it's got a reddish brown slip with a yellow slip trail on it, and the remains of a mask there, slightly concave base to it as well. Well, it's actually a piece of North Italian marbled slipware, and it's a costrel, which is a vessel that took liquid, and it's known as a lion's head costrel because there are 4 lion's heads, 2 in a pair below and 2 above. There's a picture of a complete one here, so you can picture it. So yes, North Italian marbled slipware, lion's head costrel. These date from the 17th century. They seem to have been produced about 1600, and then are found quite frequently in some parts of the country. London they found a lot archaeologically up to the end of the 17th century. So they seem to be imported in the 17th century. I think they must have been imported with contents of some sort, because at one excavation they found about 6 or 7 in one pit. So if it was just an ornament, you wouldn't necessarily buy 6 or 7, but if they're imported with something in them, but we don't know what yet. Pisa has been put forward as one place where they were made, but there are other areas in North Italy where this sort of earthenware was made, not just costrels but other forms as well. So I thought we'd like to see that, and thank you, Nick, for a very nice addition to the Hemery Pot Museum. You remember on my last outing, which was the day before the one that we've just watched, I found this rather nice piece of spongeware, Victorian spongeware, possibly from Scotland but also from Staffordshire. And then, would you believe it, a day or two later I walk into a charity shop and find a complete spongeware bowl. So all the decoration has been made using cut sponges of different shapes, and you can see actually that when you look at the green leaves, that each one is placed in a slightly different area on the decorative effect, showing that it's all been done by hand. So this would be mid to late Victorian, unmarked, because in its day these were very humble working class items that would have been sold to Scottish and other families. So the factories that made them didn't even consider it was worth putting their mark on it. But I think it's a lovely piece of what you could call working class pottery from the late Victorian period, and not that common to find, to be honest. But you do find fragments in the Thames, so obviously some were imported as far down south as London. Turning to Delftware production, which could be any time between 1650 and 1770, I did pick up quite a lot of sagger fragments. You remember saggers are the coarse yellowish earthenware in which the Delft products, tin glazed earthenware products, are fired, and on some of them you can see traces of glaze that have run down over the surfaces of the saggers. But in one in particular had this triangular shaped hole in it, and there would have been a series of holes running up the side of the sagger. They're quite large vessels, thick walled, and they would have put little triangular stilts in them, and this would have separated the plates as they were being fired, so that the glaze wouldn't cause them to stick together, or the plates wouldn't stick together during the firing process. So there would have been a whole stack of plates with stilts between them running up the sagger. I'll show you a picture here. How it worked. That's how it worked, but it's quite nice to find that evidence which proves that it is a sagger and not just any old earthenware pot. And I did find some biscuit Delft, that is the Delft that has failed during the first firing, the biscuit firing, and then if it had survived would have gone on to be given a painting, a gloss, probably blue and white, and fired again for the glazing. So these are an example of the sort of things that they would have been producing. They're sort of plates and large dishes or chargers, and you can see that that has got some broken fragments stuck onto it that either happened during firing or over the years in the Thames. But they're quite nice, and in this sort of unglazed thing they look a bit Roman, and they're sometimes mistaken for Roman, but they're not. They're nicely turned and nicely thrown things, so that was good. And then I also found in two halves this biscuitware fragment, and I was a bit puzzled at the time as to what that was, and of course looking through a book of Delft products, I soon realised that of course it's the base, and that would be the base on a little pedestal base of a wet drug jar. Here's a picture of a whole one with glazed decoration. So a very fine thing it would have been if it had survived to be glazed and painted again. So that's what that is. That will be the pedestal base, and then you have quite a large object, really, a large drug jar with a little spout coming off to hold liquid drugs for the apothecaries and chemists of their day. And there are lots of great books of recipes and medicines that these fellows inflicted on their fellow Londoners at that time. So a couple more tin glazed earthenware items. This is, I think, is also a waster where two plates have stuck together during firing. It's got some cobalt decoration on it there, And then I'm not sure if this was a waster or whether it's just a broken piece, but that's a rather nice tin glazed earthenware pot or bowl with some nice cobalt banded decoration on it there. I did find a little bit of Westerwald, German stoneware, probably 18th century, so part of a mug probably, or a jug, and then also a tiny little stamp, teeny tiny stamp, which has got a cross and a sort of floret motif. So this would have been stamped many times on the pot during decoration. From the Victorian period, a lot of very typical banded wares, which were very common, humble, everyday pots and jugs and mugs and bowls of the Victorian period. One with a little bit of mocha decoration there, so it's formed a little tree or a little seaweed motif there. Banding in blue, normally with a yellow ground. The yellow ground seems to be a common feature, mustard coloured yellow of these things. Some transfer printed wares there. The remains of a back stamp there, sadly not enough to identify it, but that's sort of got a tree root by a river, and that's sort of a monument or tomb or something going on there. And another little bit of spongeware. So this has got a sponged motif around the rim of this bowl. So this also will date from the Victorian era. Going back to the earliest finds I made, well, I did find this, which is definitely a piece of Roman greyware. You can see by the rounded rim and no glaze, obviously, on it at all. So that is a bit of Roman greyware from a coarse cooking pot or storage pot. And then my mystery item, which was this. There's lots of grits and inclusions in the clay, and I think this is the rim of a very large mortarium. So I think it is Roman, and it's a Roman mixing bowl or mortarium, but I'd never seen one with this sort of impressed lattice work design on it. I've seen it with a painted lattice, but I'm just presuming that that was going to help with the grip rather than being a maker's mark or something. I might eventually find a parallel with it, but a very nice chunk of Roman. But I said I picked it up, it could have been a piece of brick, really. It's only the fact that the fabric looked like it had grits in it that I thought that's a bit older than that. So that would be the rim, and then the mortarium would go down there and you could mix your sauces in it. So something to do, you know, 2nd to 4th century AD, I would think. So that was an unexpected find, but a very nice find indeed. So a slightly older post-medieval find. So this is going to be Georgian. These were generally made from about 1780 to about 1830. They're quite labour intensive, so after that time they don't really appear. It wasn't cost effective to make them, but it's industrial slipware, so the pot has been given a coating of slip and then engine turned to cut these grooves into the slip to reveal the body of the pot. And sometimes it was done in reverse form, so they would cut the grooves or a cross shape and then fill that with slip. So if you look at a broken edge, you'll see that it has a recess and the slip fills the recess, not just the surface of the pot. So industrial slipware, Georgian period China, would have been a very, very beautiful bowl. Some more tin glazed finds. I was very pleased to find these tile shards. That's got a very typical corner design tin glazed earthenware tiles, again running from about the end of the 17th century through the 18th century. Can't quite identify the pattern, but there would have been a design of some sort, possibly biblical design there, and that's a landscape. So you can see part of a building and some grasses there, and again with that circular thing. I'll put some examples, pictures of some complete examples so you can see what they look like. So often they would be a biblical design in blue and white, so that's rather nice to find those fragments. And then that very, very muddy fragment that I dug out actually cleaned up beautifully. It's not tin glazed on the inside. I mean, sorry, it's not lead glazed, it's just a bit discoloured. It is white tin glaze on the inside. But this would be a drug jar, and you can see very simple geometric lines and squiggles on the outside of what would have been a nice big tin glazed earthenware drug jar. And this would also be sort of about 1650 to 1750, 1780, something about that thing. But that's a lovely fragment. And I'll also post here a picture of a complete one so you can see what they look like. Well, I hope you enjoy that trip. I was pleased with my finds. It's lovely to find some historical pottery. If you're interested in pottery and pottery identification, then please do check out my book, which you can buy on eBay, Identifying the Pottery of the Thames Foreshore. And here's a picture. If you just search up Richard Henry pottery, then you'll find it straight away on eBay. And I hope to see you next time. I'll be down to the Thames soon, and thank you for coming along with me.